what Tom Lee did with ETH was ETH has been an asset that all the retailers know. He became the main character, allowing a vehicle for them to invest. Plus, he makes the crypto native or his money that he raised as the driving price action, which people try to front run him or people buy because he thinks he'll continue to pump it, a bit like the Michael Saylor for Bitcoin, right? But the problem with HYPE is it's still not an asset that has been long enough to be exposed to retail yet. Retail might not know what a perk is still. Retail might not have access to this still, and there's no main character pushing the institution side of things. Is that...
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even life advice.
My question is, do you think that HYPE would recreate what Ethereum and Binance, BNB, does in the past? Do you think that's some pump like that is still possible with all these exposure?
Wait, by some pump like that, you mean as high as BNB?
Yeah, let's say like the 200B market cap or 100B market cap.
Okay, so in long run, I can see HYPE being similar or close to BNB, to be very honest, and assuming the path consistently go through. However, I don't think it will get like a Tom Lee pump. Because there's no main character like Tom Lee doing this right now. I think it's fundamentally very two different assets if you want to compare it to ETH. From a narrative point of view, I hope more people think like you, but from an actual, let's say how real is this narrative? Is it first, there's no main character like Tom Lee pushing Ethereum. But HYPE is a better asset than Ethereum right now due to all its functionality, etc., etc. But I don't think HYPE is is retail facing enough, right? Like, so if I were to break it down, what Tom Lee did with ETH was ETH has been an asset that all the retailers know. He became the main character, allowing a vehicle for them to invest. Plus, he makes the crypto native or his money that he raised as the driving price action, which people try to front run him or people buy because he thinks he'll continue to pump it, a bit like the Michael Saylor for Bitcoin, right? But the problem with HYPE is it's still not an asset that has been long enough to be exposed to retail yet. Retail might not know what a perk is still. Retail might not have access to this still, and there's no main character pushing the institution side of things. Is that on the track to improving? Yes, I think so, because of the reason, like you see that picture, that fantastic screenshot where the trader is looking at Hyperliquid price, right? Like, I think those are like the things that's coming to adoption. But I don't know, is that going to materialize in terms of token price in the short-term horizon? Like, I think right now, all these ETFs are for HYPE. It's not for retail, but it's for institutions that limits them from buying tokens. Whereas for ETH right now, some retail might actually buying it, MSTR as well, like some retail that are actually buying it because of custodians, etc. Whereas HYPE is still in like the lower level, where it's like, oh, okay, there's a bunch of funds that want exposure to this, but their mandate doesn't allow them to buy a token. That's why they buy the ETF. And that's my read, right? But yeah, that's why there's more upside in HYPE in terms of this. But maybe this might change in a few months, right? But yeah, that's my current view.
My view might be a bit more of a cop-out answer, but I think, Hardy, you cannot look at market cap for this. Like, I know market cap is mostly for retailing, they would look at market cap, but like BNB is 88 billion and HYPE is 50 billion. So I do think HYPE, if it hits $100, it's basically equal to BNB in terms of like FDV, which I think is still very possible. But, you know, like if you're asking, like, do we think the market cap is going to go stupid? You know, it's going to go like $200-300. Like, I think that's very hard because, I mean, if you pay attention right now, I would still long HYPE more than not. But CME and New York Stock Exchange is starting to put pressure, right? You know, in terms of like, oh, like regulate, sanction. Oh, the president allegedly is using, you know, like HYPE to like insider trading and blah, blah. So I think the ceiling, like a more like realistic ceiling would be BNB level, which is like around like 80-90 billion FDV, which is like $100, you know, like that's also like a round number for people's head, right? I think above that is very tough. Yeah.